Okay. I'll make your sound effects for you.
All right, awesome. Apologize for the crappy sound, Jim.
Yeah, Jim, thank you for fixing whatever you can fix. Or you know what? Just F it and we'll just do whatever we have to do.
F it, we'll do it live.
I mean, you are remote, so you're allowed to have a slightly off audio.
I am remote.
We are still in 2019, but this is December
2019.
13th. Oh, I just realized today's Friday the 13th.
Ooh, scary. And Taylor Swift's 30th birthday. The universe is conspiring.
Uh-huh. Wait, how old is she?
30, I think.
Wow, old lady now. Okay. I think I'm ready. You ready? You recording?
Yeah.
Excellent. Good afternoon. Today is Friday, December 13th. Ooh. Today, we're going to talk about the new Mac Pro, a little bit about the MacBook Pro 16-inch, of course, award nominations for TV Plus, and a whole lot more, because this is the iMore show. And joining me today is Renee Ricci of Vector fame, of the famous, the one and only, the 120,000 plus subscribers Vector. Welcome to the show.
How you doing, Logan?
Good. I'm doing good. It's a good Friday.
I'm traveling, and I left my AirPods at home. Then I bought new AirPods, and then I lost those. So I'm just on the MacBook speaker right now. So if I sound terrible, I apologize to people's eardrums.
Well, at least we know what the 16-inch MacBook Pro's microphone sounds like.
Cable, yeah, and it's got a noise. I have no headphones, so it's got a noise cancel you coming out of the speakers, which are right next to the microphones. And
it's a nightmare.
Jim Metzendorf for making his life terrible.
Well, Jim, thank you in advance for all the things that you're about to do for us. But from my perspective, Renee, you sound pretty decent. Not as good as when you've got your full setup, but doable, definitely.
All right, we'll see how this goes.
So where are you right now?
I'm in sunny Toronto, Ontario.
Are you allowed to say?
Home of the brave.
Are you allowed to say why you're there? Why you're on your trip?
Yeah, okay. Your hour of code, which was really awesome. They had the hacker girls teaching a seminar to students from around the area on how to use Swift playgrounds. And this afternoon, I wasn't able to attend the afternoon session, but all the kids got to make their own apps.
Oh, wow. That is so fun.
Yeah. And those kids are all like code native, not like when I was a kid, nobody knew what code was. These kids just, they have iPads, Apple Pencils, Swift playgrounds.
All kinds of good stuff.
So cool.
Is this hour of code is it different from the global hour of code? Is it a special one?
Well, it was a special workshop, like everywhere, all the Apple stores, and a bunch of people beyond Apple. Like Hour of Code is an international initiative. And Apple hosts little, not going to call them little, but they host individual sessions at Apple stores where kids can go and spend the hour learning how to code. This was a big one with a big group of people, and they had 6 people from Hacker Girls, and they also had 2 people from Snowman, the people who make those awesome
Built by Snowman,
and cards and the skateboard game for Apple Arcade, and they were there and they spoke for a while, and then they went around and helped all the kids, which was really awesome. Yeah,
that's so great. How exciting! I love that. I think the one thing about Hour of Code, and I know that this isn't actually true, but I always feel like it's meant for kids. And, I'm not a kid, and I would feel kind of funny if I went into some learn to code workshop and it was me and a bunch of 12-year-olds.
We're all kids, Lori. We're all kids.
I know I can just do it. And you don't even have to go into any kind of, workshop. You can do it at home. You can, take some coding lessons at home. It's just a way to get everybody aware that, if everyone learns to code, then there are going to be a lot less restrictions when when it comes time to joining the workforce, which at my age, that was definitely not something that we were encouraged to learn, boys and girls. It was at the time, that wasn't a thing. So there wasn't a lot of teaching of coding. So I am one of those people who kind of, I'm becoming a dinosaur for my inability to know how to code. And every year I think, this year I'm going to do that. I'm going to take some classes. I'm going to learn how to code.
Start with
every year I don't.
But I did. I'm terrible, but just start with Swift Playground.
Yeah, that one's the easy one to start with, right? It's intended to kind of help it's really basic and really kind of dumbs it down a little, not in a bad way, but to like make it easy for everyone.
And these are smart. Like they ask the kids what problem they have and they want to fix in their life. Like they forget to brush their teeth, or they want like a simple notes, and then they go through like making a UI for it, making a user experience for it, setting up storyboards for how what happens when you press on this button, what screen do you go to from that button. And it's just, and the kids were really engaged. I was amazed.
That's so great. I love to hear this.
Yep.
Awesome. So Hour of Code. Today is a big day. So everybody take a moment and learn how to code. Actually, by the time you hear this, I think the day is over, but that doesn't mean you can't still learn how to code. Just like me.
Yep.
Maybe that'll be my resolution for 2020. Learn how to code for reals, not just go through the first 6 steps and then go, that was cool, and then walk away.
Coding with Lori. It's where you code.
Yeah, maybe I'll start a new video blog where I show you just how dumb I am at it. And then if you feel like I'm just as dumb as her, then you can join me on this path to learning how to code.
Like those studying, like people stream themselves studying for 3 hours and like 1 million people watch with them.
What is that about?
I don't know. Studying I don't know.
So you're in Toronto and you've got the 16-inch MacBook Pro with you. How does it travel? Is it comfortable to carry around?
Yeah, I mean, I used to have a 17-inch MacBook Pro back in the day, and it was just so big. It was like a battleship. And then I went to the 13-inch MacBook Air, but I was using that to go to CES and Macworld when that was still a thing, and WWDC, and it couldn't produce video fast enough, and we had to edit video. So I went to the 13-inch MacBook Pro when that was updated. And that was great, but then I started doing more and more video, and they started putting less and less power in the 13-inch. Like there was no more discrete graphics cards, and so I went up to a 15-inch MacBook Pro in 2016 when they made the new ones, and I really liked those. But this is it's just a little bit bigger, but it's really nice and it's really powerful. So it throws out, like, it's so powerful. I didn't even look twice at that Mac Pro that I'm assuming we're going to talk about soon. Because like traditionally I had Mac Pros. I had an Nehalem Mac Pro. I skipped the trash cans because it wasn't really the Mac Pro that I needed, but I was super excited for a new one. But then I'm looking at it going, can't put that in my backpack. I'm not making like a Pelican case like Marquez and dragging it around. Like I only work in 4K. I don't work in like 8K RAW or anything. So this is just perfect for me.
Yeah. So the reason I did want to bring that up is the 16-inch MacBook Pro. What I'm hearing from a lot of different people in, the analysis and influencer kind of level is that this actually the 16-inch MacBook Pro for 2019 seems to have gone back to what Apple was previously trying to do, which was make a pro level laptop for people. And the 2016 through 2018 didn't really meet that standard, but this one, in the 16-inch one at least, seems to have met that standard. You feel that that's a good, because you can't carry around a $50,000 Mac Pro in your backpack, this is a good alternative to get you doing what you need to do when you're on the road. Yeah,
I mean, the problem with the other MacBooks is that they were built for a world that never existed. Like if Intel had managed to get down to 10 nanometer when they said they would, and like it's like, I don't know, 3-4 years later and they still haven't, but those machines would have been hella powerful and they would have had a lot more RAM, because the Intel, it's not just that the chips were, so just to back up for people who might not be familiar, when those machines were built, Intel was supposed to be coming out with their 10 nanometer chips, which were also supposed to include new technologies like greater memory at the low power RAM. And Apple, ever since the days of Steve Jobs, like when he switched from PowerPC to Intel, the reason wasn't power, the reason was power efficiency. It was how much power they could get out of each watt. And that's what Intel was promising. And then they hit a wall. And because they couldn't, they kept screwing up their die shrink, they threw more and more cores at the problem, so it still looked like they were getting more powerful. But those cores are hot, and this Mac Pro was never designed for that. And also they supported LDDP, low power DDR3 memory, but not low power DDR4 memory. And the DDR3 memory capped at 16 gigabytes. So people were complaining, oh, where's my 32 gigabytes? Where's my, and Apple said like, we can't put it in here. So eventually Apple backtracked and they went back and they put the more power hungry RAM in, but then they had to make the battery bigger. And they had to do all these things to try to work around the lack of the silicon stuff from Intel. And I think with this one, they just said, screw it. We're never getting that stuff. We're going to just make them bigger. We're going to put bigger vents in them, throw in more memory. And also SSD prices have come down now. So like you can get 8 terabytes of SSD in these things. And that would have cost the price of a small car even 2 years ago.
Right.
So it's just like, it's like in a perfect world, there would still be a smaller, thinner, lighter, just as powerful MacBook Pro. But we don't live in that world. So this is sort of like the pragmatic compromise to get us as far there as we can.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So then, because you have the 16-inch MacBook Pro is actually a pretty solid mobile version of a Pro computer, then when the beautiful Mac Pro just released earlier this week, were you tempted? I don't even come close to having the kind of money I would need to buy it, but I can tell you that I under no circumstance need this computer, but I kind of wanted it because it looks so good.
So I was tempted just because I used to own a Mac Pro and I liked them from the angle of it's a Mac that you can really get inside and you can upgrade things and change things, and everyone has a little bit of that sort of hobbyist blood in them. It's just I'll buy this, I'll use it for 10 years, I'll upgrade the graphics card, the memory, all those things. But they have such good computers out now. Like the regular iMac is so good, and the iMac Pro is so good that this Mac Pro is not designed for people. Like people were finding this out for the first time, which stuns me because I used to work in enterprise and we would buy these machines. But you can get Dells and you can get HPs for like $50,000, $75,000, $125,000. And they're their version of the Mac Pro. But because people associate Apple with consumer brands, especially these days, they just assume that every Mac made is for them. But this Mac, they don't even round the prices down. It's not like the main stuff too, but it's like the wheels aren't $399. The wheels are $400.
They're not even trying to pretend. Yeah.
No. I understand like why there's FOMO and why there's people who would want it but can't get it. But this Mac is really designed for a person for whom no other Mac could work. Like not would work, but could work. Like they really people were joking. The Apple seeded 3 of them, one to Justine Azaric, iJustine, one to Marquez Brownlee, MKBHD, and one to Jonathan Morrison from TLD Today. And the ones they seeded were 28 cores with 364, I think, gigabytes of RAM and 4 terabyte hard drives. And most people would say, whoever needs 300, gigabytes of RAM? And they're throwing 8K Red Raw codecs at those machines. Or some of the audio people, they're putting their entire sampling libraries on those machines, things that they would used to keep on a network server. They're just loading, never mind on the hard drive, they're loading them into RAM, which is just not like you can't do that even with an iMac Pro. Right. So if I needed, like if I worked at Pixar or ILM, or I knew anything about music at all, or I was in science and I need to do a bunch of really crunchy calculations or 3D rendering, things like that, then I would justify it. But it's complete overkill for anything that I do every day.
Right.
So I'm kind of happy because I don't have to buy it. Like I can't afford it anyway. But even if I could, I wouldn't have to buy it.
Yeah. It's just so pretty. I've been into a couple of recording studios. I have a couple of friends who are recording. They're, engineers and producers and stuff like that. And they all are running, like a 8-year-old Mac Pro. They didn't want to upgrade to the trash can. And they've been sitting on these really old Mac Pros this whole time. And I have a feeling that, as I go back into these recording studios, a lot of them are going to have the new Mac Pro because they finally could upgrade. Though, in terms of recording studio stuff, I do have one friend with a small recording studio. He doesn't do much. He does a lot of just indie bands. He went ahead and got the iMac Pro because, he spec'd it out and was like, this is all I need for what I do. So that's an example of how the iMac Pro, though it wasn't geared toward professionals in that level, in this sort of 8K world, it actually is more than enough computer for a lot of pros. So I love that there's this line in the desktop, in the Mac desktop world right now, where a person who's getting their first Mac can get an iMac, or even something less expensive, they can get a laptop, a Mac laptop. Somebody who works on their computer at home all the time, or maybe they work in administrative, can just have an iMac, and that's more than enough power. Somebody who does, video recording in 4K, or does, the small music studios, they can do the iMac Pro. They don't have to spend the $50,000 on the expensive one, but they also aren't limited by the iMac. They've got that little in-between one. So it's really great to see this like wider range of Mac desktops for people that need just a plethora of different types of computers. In my work life, I couldn't see myself needing an iMac Pro, but I have an iMac, and I will be upgrading one. It's funny, the main reason I haven't upgraded from my current iMac, it's very old at this point. I mean, not very old, but it's old in terms of Mac products because of how often they get new versions in. It runs great, so there's no reason to replace it, but I keep waiting for a design change. So I've got it set in my mind that when they change the design of the iMac, if they make it thinner, or they make the bezel smaller, or like whatever like physical change happens, that's when I'll get the new one. Because for now, the one I have, I think it's from 2015. It works absolutely fantastic, and there's absolutely no reason to replace it.
Yeah, there is those missing Macs still that people have been asking about for like 20 years, which is like the X Mac, which is the small tower. It's like not a Mac Pro, but it's not a Mac Mini. It's somewhere in between, where you have a few PCIe slots, and you can open it up, but it doesn't require a $6,000 case. Maybe it's only like $2,000 or $1,000. Yeah. And the non-Pro display, something that's more like the LED display or the cinema display, because everyone will just say the LG display is the iMac panel, and it is, but the plastic coating around it is not an Apple. It's not an Apple chassis. Yeah, a lot of people would just load that to come back.
Yeah, and I've had the opportunity to test out the LG 4K ultra display. I don't remember what they call it now, and it's fantastic in terms of, if all you're doing is looking at the screen itself and using it with your Mac, it's absolutely fantastic. But you just look at it and you like, that plastic back, and the base of it is not, like it has zero design aesthetic to it. So I completely know what you mean. It's a perfectly good monitor, but huge disappointment for people who want their, environment to have a particular aesthetic. So yeah.
Totally agree.
So the one thing that, again, this isn't, I wouldn't really buy a new Mac Pro because of this, but the new peripherals for the Mac Pro make me want to buy a Mac Pro because they're so pretty, the black and silver. So the new keyboard, the new trackpad, and the new Magic Mouse, they are all black with silver instead of just like space gray all around. They look so pretty.
The new hotness.
Yeah. And I think there is a little bit of just wanting, it's the FOMO thing. It's new, so I want it. I didn't get any of the space gray peripherals that came out when the iMac Pro came out. So it's not like I need it, but man, are they good looking.
I have the black ones on the iMac Pro. And I just wish they'd make one without a number pad. Like, I have no need in my life for a number pad, but I would love to have the trackpad closer to the keyboard.
Yeah. That's the one thing about a number pad, that it kind of stretches out where your hand sits. And it's when you're used to the smaller one. Yeah. And when you're used to the smaller one, it does really feel like a burden to have to stretch over a little. Yeah.
My wish list.
Do you think they'll make the peripherals, the black and silver peripherals, available to buy separately someday?
They did that for the space black ones, right? I think you can buy the space black ones now. Maybe that'd be great. I don't know if it's hard to tell with Apple, because sometimes they seem very just capricious about these decisions.
Yeah. Is it an exclusivity thing, or do they, because they could make money off of it just by making it available for you to buy separately. There will be a number of people who will buy them. Or do they want to say, this is exclusive to the Mac Pro, and we want the Mac Pro people to get this special thing.
Buy the Mac Pro, and then you sell the peripheral for like $3,000 to some absolute Mac nut job, and monetize your cost that way.
Yeah. Oh man, it's too much. I do love the way it looks. I'm going to take a quick break to introduce our sponsor this week. But when we get back from that, let's talk about the display a little bit.
Yeah.
It is a very nice looking display. But for now, I'd like to tell you a little bit about LightStream. This actually just recently came to my attention. Thank you for sponsoring this week, LightStream, because now that I've discovered you, I've been saving up to buy a car for a while, and I'm really close to being at that point where I feel like I have enough of a down payment. So if I decide that I actually have a decent amount, I could buy a used car outright, or I could buy a new car and have a down payment. So LightStream is actually a credit card company or a loan company, actually, so that you can go in and apply for a loan or apply to reduce your credits. Like you can consolidate your credit cards right there online, and it's actually meant for people with good credit. It's not meant for people with lower credit. So if you they have this like benefit of being able to give you a really low annual percentage rate because they don't take on any high risk loans. So and I have good credit, so this is kind of perfect for me. So you can refinance your credit card balances using a credit card consolidation loan from LightStream and save as much as 5.95%, or excuse me, you can get a rate as low as 5.95% annual with autopay setup. Even without autopay setup, it's not much more than that. It ranges in price depending on how big your loan is. I've noticed that the 10 to 20,000 range is perfect for the really, really low annual percentage rate. But even when it goes up, it doesn't go up by much. It's always based on your credit score, which I don't think they even accept anyone whose credit score is below very good. So, you know, they're really just maintaining the really good credit people so that they can keep those interest rates low. It's lower than the average credit card interest rate. Obviously, most of them are at about 20%. You can also get a loan from $5,000 to $100,000. There's no additional fee, just the annual percentage rate. You apply online. It's quick and easy. You can even do it right on your phone. You can just go to the website and apply right on your phone. You can get money the same day. So when I do go get that car, I can shop around in all of those parking lots. And if I find the car that I want, I can apply before I even talk to somebody about it and just know how much I have. You can, LightStream deals with people that have good credit. So, you know, the better your credit, the lower your rate. And that's kind of what they specialize on. Today, right now, you can get an additional interest rate discount. The only way to get that discount is to go to lightstream.com/iMore. That's lightstream.com/iMore to get that additional discount. lightstream.com/iMore to get that special discount. And it's subject to credit approval. The rates include a 0.50% autopay discount in addition to the discount that you get with iMore. Terms and conditions do apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. You can visit lightstream.com/iMore for more information. And thank you again, LightStream, for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. And I will be contacting you as soon as I'm ready to buy my car. All right, so let's talk a little bit about that display. Now, so you might actually have a better answer for me than this. Does the display does it only work with like really high powered Mac computers? Could I use it with my 2016 13-inch MacBook Pro?
So they have a list of which Macs it's compatible with, and the list is a little weird. And like very, very new Macs all work with it. Slightly older Macs, you need an eGPU because you need one of the more recent AMD Radeon graphics cards to drive it. So most recent Macs will work with the eGPU, but getting an eGPU is a hassle. Like, well, I mean, I guess if you're buying this $6,000 display,
you might as well throw
that in there. But the most recent MacBook Pros and of course the Mac Pro. The iMac Pro, I don't believe so. I believe its graphics cards don't. You need the eGPU for that too, which is kind of befuddling. But they have a list under compatibility. And a couple people were asking if you could plug in other computers, and it looks like you can, but you can't drive it at 6K, and you may not get all the features. Okay. So maybe it'll just act as a 5K or a 4K or something under that.
Right. Yes. And maybe over time there'll be ways. Again, this isn't intended to be a consumer display. So,
yeah,
even coders, even for coders, this isn't meant for most people. So it's not a big deal if it's not as compatible with everything. But I do
modes it has, like, it's really only meant for people doing color grading, like digital color grading, like the work that depends on incredible range of color accuracy.
Right. Renee, when you and I were at the demo room for that, it was really clear to me what that display is meant for. It's not meant for me typing out articles on iMore or uploading pictures that I took on my phone. It's really, no matter what, everything is going to look beautiful, but it's absolutely intense. Do you remember they were taking these kind of high contrast photos, and they were showing on the screen? It was in portrait mode, which looked fantastic, and they were showing the clarity and the depth of what you were actually seeing. You could see, the camera was any kind of normal camera, but you were seeing the flaws in this photograph, and I mean that in a good way. It was so clear how it was like I could reach out and touch a human's face when I was looking at those things on that screen. It's incredible how great the display is.
And it is a $6,000 display, but it is important to remember that most other displays in its range start around the same price, and the ones that are the same price are terrible comparatively. Like they're not good. And the ones that are just about as good are like $25,000 to $45,000. And they are not as good because the key thing about this display, the thing that makes it special, is that it has an enormous range of brightness. It can go up to 1,000 nits sustained, which means it can always be at 1,000 nits, and it can peak up to, I think, 1,200 nits, which means that if you have a lot of white, a lot of sky in your picture, it can get brighter temporarily to show that to you accurately, because it's what's called a reference monitor. Like, the whole point of this is that if I see it like this, anyone else who's working on the same work will see it exactly the same way, like exactly, and that's what it's going to look like in the movie, like when it's coming out of Final Cut or Adobe Premiere or Avid or like DaVinci Resolve, whatever. It's going to look like that every step of shooting it on a color profile, displaying it on a reference profile, taking it to a Dolby Vision Cinema and putting it up on screen. That is what it's designed for. And those screens were so expensive that people couldn't afford to have them. So it'd be like one person doing the color grading, and everyone would be like around. And if there was a mistake, you wouldn't see it until the end, because like you couldn't see on the other monitors. And with what Apple was hoping with this, thanks to their Pro Workflows team, which is staffed by people from Pixar and ILM and all of that, is to be able to make something that was as good, if not better, and at a price that you could literally have one on the set, which is why you can get wheels on these things. You can have one at the set and check what the stuff that's coming off the camera. You can have one in the edit bay. You can have one at the color grading station. You can have one at the mastering set, and everyone can like control the color process and verify it along the way.
Yeah. So my question when I hear this, because I am, again, like I don't know anything about reference monitors. So it was only talking to you and actually Alex Lindsay a little bit about this that I understand more what that means. And the nits brightness thing is actually like that means a lot. I get a sense of like what a big deal that is. But what comes to mind to me is if Apple is making a $6,000 monitor that is as good as a $25,000 monitor, how are they doing that? How can they afford to do that? Why are other companies making them at $25,000? Is it the wedding invitation thing where just because it's a reference monitor, they're hiking the price up because they know they can, and Apple isn't doing that?
It's a few things. It's like, remember when the Apple Watch came out and they made that link bracelet that you could take off, and other watch companies have been around for 100 years and didn't do that. And I think it's in part, it's that when Apple enters an industry, they start looking at it and like consciously decide what they can improve. And also Apple Display, they have a lot of advantages in that they've been working with iPhone displays and iPad Pro displays, and they have these technological ideas and they can make them a reality. And they have enough money that they can invest in scale. Like, even though they're not going to make a lot of these, it's still super expensive to make them. They have to eat all those upfront costs. So I think it's the ability to see what can be done better, the willingness to do it, and the money to fund it. that sort of all come together. And other companies will probably start doing very similar things to this now that they've been done. Like now other watch companies are making bands that users can adjust. So
right. Yeah.
It helps out everybody.
So it's a bit of leading the standard, right?
Yeah, and to your point, I think Sony is probably cursing them because I think Sony was making a good chunk of change off those monitors.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, there is a thing to be said about that. And I use the wedding invitation example as that. I have friends who have gone in to get wedding invitations, and when they told the printer that it was a wedding invitation, suddenly the price increased significantly. And it was like, oh, that's interesting that there's like a market out there that's intended to just cost more because people will pay more, but not because it needs to cost more. And so maybe this can bring down the cost of the other reference monitors a little bit, and the entire industry will be happy to know that.
In the chat room is said it's odd that the Pro Display is only 60 hertz, and it is not that odd because like there's always trade-offs and everything, but you want something that can display your content at 24 or 48, ideally 48, because it gives you it'll buffer down, but it'll divide down into 24, which is what almost all movies are. The cinematic frame rate is 24, not for any other reason, but that when they started making movies, anything lower than 24, it would look like stop motion. It would look all janky, and anything over 24, there wasn't enough benefit because back in the day, film was super expensive and filming was super expensive, and it wasn't worth the price to do it at 30 because most people couldn't tell a difference. But just like in terms of your brain could still tell. So now that just looks like a movie to us. Anything playing in 24 looks like a movie, and anything playing at 30 looks like a TV show. And if it's not well lit, it looks like a soap opera, which is why you go to your parents' house and you see them watching Avengers or Star Wars on motion smoothing, and you're like, why is this a soap opera? And you can't tell, but it's because they're doing horrible things to it. So if you have 30 or 60 frames per second, you can do good TV work. And if you have 48 or 24, you can do really good film work. And nobody really needs, like 120 hertz exists on TV to make with interpolation to make sports look better. But Peter Jackson filmed The Hobbit at 120 hertz, and it's horrible. Like you can see the lines in the makeup for where they're attaching. No, we're not ready for that kind of. It's just not. That's not mainstream technology yet. And by the time it becomes mainstream, maybe they'll play back in 120 hertz. But I don't know. There's no huge benefit to it yet.
Yeah. So again, though, these monitors are not for the mainstream. So there was a decision made to not go 120. So I'm thinking
it would cost so much. Like it would be doubling up everything, and it just may not work at that speed.
Right. So I guess though, in that, this is kind of Apple's first dip into something this advanced. The old Mac Pro is not this advanced. The monitor, there was no monitor that was this advanced. And maybe with this, they have their Pro monitor, but then they'll have the Pro monitor that will be at 120. And so maybe
like when you put your phone into 120 or 240, the resolution gets smaller and the amount of light you need gets higher. Mm-hmm. That's the trade-off. And they can get 1,000 nits, but maybe they'd only get 600 or 500 at 120 hertz.
Right, and it probably isn't sustainable the way it is at 60. Yeah,
and nobody would notice the difference because it's still divisible by 60, and the human eye can't really there's no real advantage, I don't think, to anything faster yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe they were kind of like picking the broadest. The broadest number that appeals to the most people. And there's going to be the Peter Jacksons that go get the 120 hertz screen, but not everybody is that.
I'm going to look now. I wonder if they have those and what they cost. And they could probably sustain brightness for 3 seconds.
Yeah. Well, you're looking that up. I'm going to bring up another thing that happened earlier this week, or another thing about Apple that we noticed, which is that the morning show has been nominated for multiple SAG awards. I believe it's Best Actor and Best Actress, and one more. I apologize, I didn't keep that list in front of me. Do you remember what that is?
No, but it's weird because and I've seen some reviews now for the finale, and people are saying it's terrific. But there's a lot of mixed reviews along the way. Both for content, because no one expected an Apple show to have Jennifer Aniston speaking like Samuel L. Jackson, but also because it's close to the newsroom, but it's not Sorkin, and it's Me Too movement, but it's not they're not doing a lot of other politics around that. So it's gotten a lot of different interpretations.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, I'm going to clarify really quickly, because this is something I didn't even quite realize. The morning show is actually nominated for multiple Golden Globe Awards and multiple Screen Actors Guild Awards, 3 Screen Actor Guild Awards. The SAG Awards actually was just 2 days ago. That announcement just happened. So they are really getting a lot of recognition right now for this show. So I think I have mentioned that before, that I actually wasn't, I tried the first couple episodes of the morning show and I just stopped watching it. Yeah. But I think now, it sometimes it takes other people telling you, no, this show is really good, before you actually dig in and go for it, even if you think it's bad, even if you tried it and you thought it was bad, because sometimes it just takes an episode or two for a show to get its stride. So now I definitely have to hunker down and maybe binge watch the show this week. Have you actually gotten through all the episodes? I guess maybe you haven't seen the finale yet, right?
No, I'm up to date though. I'm up to whatever was I haven't seen today's episode, but I'm up to date with whatever was last week.
Okay. And then so you're invested. So whatever this season finale episode is, are you kind of feeling a little bit of like, oh boy, I can't wait to watch it?
Yeah, and Billy Crudup, and a lot of people have been saying this, but he was like a hidden gem to me. He's basically playing either like Loki or the Joker, where like you have people like super angry with him. He's like, you should smile more. Smiling would improve your character. And they're like, come on, let's see a smile. It's kind of delightful.
Yeah, so maybe he's got more so than the other actors in there. Maybe he's actually got a chance of winning. It sounds like he's got a really great charismatic role happening.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because they're famously Cheers and Seinfeld weren't hits in their first season. I think Apple was just finding their feet, and we'll see where they go. And the morning show, there was a lot of range that was demanded early on, and you weren't familiar with it, and so it had some shaky parts. But I think that's true of a lot of their series. Like even The Mandalorian, which I adore, they've had stronger episodes and weaker episodes.
Oh yeah. That's definitely something that you have to be forgiving of a show, is that not every episode is going to be a hit. I mean, the Game of Thrones, there were plenty of episodes where I was like, that one was okay.
High rate season.
So, let's not go into that. Yeah. But yeah, so in terms of TV Plus, I think there's more shows are coming up, and that's excellent. I actually started watching The Servant, which I've only seen the first episode, but I was on board right away. And I'm really picky about TV shows. I am a TV show snob. Like, I don't watch TV very often. So I like to watch movies. That's my, like, at the end of the day when I'm, sitting down to dinner, I put on a movie and I will rewatch movies over and over again just to, do that instead. So when it comes to am I going to invest the next X number of hours in a TV show? It has to really grab me. It doesn't have to grab me right away. I will give shows a couple of tries and I'll keep watching a couple of times. But if I'm not sort of clamoring for the next episode, it usually just goes to the back of the bus, because it's not, TV is just not as exciting to me as movies. And in recent years, TV has improved so much. Storytelling and production of television has improved so much that I'm really loving this new standard. But it also means that if I'm watching a TV show like The Morning Show, I'm judging it against, The Wire or, Game of Thrones or something. And so I'm looking at it going well, it's not as good as this other TV show that I like a lot. And my standards are just a little too high, and it makes it harder for me to be on board with something and go for it.
I did like Dickinson too. It's like Shakespeare done by millennials. It's kind of charming.
Yeah, I haven't sat down to that yet, because I don't like period piece things very often, unless it's a Western, of course. So I was very dismissive of it right away. But then I kept reading about all this, how fun and funny it was. And I watched the trailer for it. Even watching the trailer, I was like, I don't know, but I'm hearing good stuff, so I'm gonna give it a try. Definitely. I've spent too much time on Disney Plus. Now I need to go back to TV Plus and do some more TV watching.
One thing I like about TV Plus is like Disney Plus, I love, but I recognize that I'm not everybody. There are some people who like DC more than Marvel and Star Trek more than Star Wars, and you can pick anything like the Looney Tunes rather than Magic Kingdom. And for them, they're going to look at Disney Plus and say, "Oh, it's all the stuff that I don't like." But Apple's putting such a wide variety. Like there's just such a wide variety of content that you may not like any of it, but there's a chance that there's so many different genres that you might find something you like.
Right. That's very true. I think probably the next step is something more sitcom-like. That's the one thing I think so far that I haven't seen Apple do yet is even their comedies. Like Dickinson is a comedy, but it's not a sitcom. It's like a storytelling comedy. And like, again, I'm not going to be saying, let's go have sitcoms because those are kind of my least favorite of the TV shows. But that's that's a very broad and easy to digest type of television. And I think that probably would be beneficial to Apple to include something that kind of broad and simple and people can fall in love with and get on board with those kinds of shows that don't really like ask you to invest too much or ask you to, use too much imagination. You just get to laugh at the jokes. They're popcorn TV. And I think, that would probably be the next step for Apple would be, it'd be good for them to do something like that.
I've also been really loving the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover for all the DC heroes like the Flash and Supergirl and and Batwoman. But now it's stopped. Like they did 3 episodes. You have to wait till after Christmas, and you'll get the Arrow and the Legends of Tomorrow finale. But that's been great because they've been bringing back cameos like from anybody who's ever been in like the Flash from the '80s and Birds of Prey and like all these different. I'm low key hoping they're going to have Linda Carter in one of them.
Oh wow, that would be great. What is that on? What can you watch that on?
It's on the CW network.
Okay.
I bought them on iTunes. They even had like the Smallville Clark Kent. Yeah,
that's great. I loved Smallville. I remember that one. That was fun.
Yeah, and they did it perfectly too. It's just so much fun.
That's awesome. All right, so moving on, let's actually talk about Apple Music Replay. I don't know, Renee, did you try out your Replay? Did you check it out?
I a few songs. Like once in a while, they Yo Jimbo or Siri, whatever it's called, play this song. But I watch TV the way most people listen to music.
Okay, yeah, you're not as into music in terms of like developing like an actual.
I don't listen to music every day. Maybe like once a week. So
right.
My Replay would probably have like the autobiography of Mr. Chuck. We'll have like a few Public Enemy songs, some like a bunch of 80s rap, and then a few other songs that I just asked it to play randomly.
Yeah. So in case anybody listening hasn't actually heard about it yet, Replay is basically Apple's response to Spotify's Wrapped. So at the end of every year, Spotify lets you kind of look at your year in music and see what songs you played the most and what albums you listened to the most. So Replay it's in beta. It's actually, you can only do it via the web. So it's beta.music.apple.com/replay. We'll put that in the show notes so that you can go visit it yourself. It's basically, so the beta.music.apple.com is Apple Music on the web. So it kind of just looks like your music app in a web browser, but Replay is within that. So as soon as you log into it, you get that and you click on this Get Your Replay Mix and it'll show you the songs that you played the most in order, and the albums that the bands that you listen to the most, and then the albums that you listen to the most in that year. And Apple has also added dating back to, well, for me, it dates back to 2015. I'm not sure if that goes older for anyone else because Apple Music started in 2015, right?
Oh, God, I remember so distinctly Eddie Q and what's his name, Jimmy Iovine being on stage, but was it 2015?
I think it was. I'm going to say yes. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, and I apologize for that, but I'm fairly certain that it was 2015 that it started. So for me, if anybody's interested,
I am.
my first 5 songs on my list of the most played songs are from Joan Jett. And that is because I was actually in a cover show where I played, I got to dress up like Joan Jett and played a bunch of Joan Jett and the Black Heart songs. So I replayed those songs over and over and over and over and over for months while I was learning the songs. So they kind of skewed my top listening just because I listen to them a lot for one specific reason. Not that I don't love them, but they're not indicative of my like daily listening stuff. But I also have Minor Threat, ELO, the Joy Division, more Minor Threat, Oingo Boingo, Outcast, Tom York, Ministry. So I have a pretty eclectic group, and my number one artists, again, Joan Jett is at the top of that list, but below that is D'Antvert, The Cure, Kraftwerk, Tom York, Red Lori, Yellow Lori, Future Cop, Dr. Dre. I have a pretty decent
Nice.
like grouping of different kind of music. And my top 5 albums, Suspiria, and that's from the new Suspiria movie. I'm surprised at that. I thought the first Suspiria, the original Suspiria soundtrack would be high on my list, but apparently I listened to the new soundtrack that's from Tom York more often than Minor Threat and Future Cop, Public Enemy, and number 5 is The Violent Femmes. So those are my top things for 2019. It's really fun. I love doing that, and I've done the Spotify thing, but I don't actually use Spotify as often. I use Apple Music. So it makes me so happy to see that we can do our own version of that and see what our music's favorites were for the year. Spotify does know a little bit more about you than you might want to. And actually, one of my least favorite things about Spotify is that if you don't turn it off, it shares your music with everybody else that you're following. And I listen to Disney soundtracks a lot, but I'm also in a punk band. So my friends who follow me, I get a little embarrassed if they know that I'm listening to Disney soundtracks. So I have to turn off that share feature, and that's every time. Like with Apple Music, you just turn it off. It's a one-time thing that you turn off, and then you can turn on if you want. But with Spotify, like every time you log back in, you have to manually go in and hide what music you're listening to, so your friends don't make fun of you for listening to Disney.
My number 1 song I just logged in and found out is Portals from the Avengers Endgame soundtrack by Alan Silvestri. Nice. That's a song they play at the very end when Captain America stands up.
Yeah. Don't give away too many spoilers. I still haven't seen that. Did you cry when you first watched it?
Because it wasn't even crying. Like my little godson looked up at me and goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I went, "You don't understand. I've been waiting 30 years to see this." It's not like John Williams, because John Williams is the soundtrack of my childhood. Like Star Wars was the first movie I ever saw in a movie theater. Superman was the second movie I ever saw in a movie theater. And from Jurassic Park to Harry Potter to Indiana Jones, like he's just done everything that is like has informed me. And I love Howard Shore from The Lord of the Rings. Like that soundtrack is amazing. But I just think that Alan Silvestri did such a good job, particularly with the song Portals, because it's just such a perfect like rise at the end of everything that I just end up playing it over and over again.
Again, I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but it's from the way you're describing it, it sounds like that song fits that movie so well. And that is what's so evocative to you, is that it makes you feel feelings when you hear it, because it's reminding you of what was happening in the movie.
The best way I can describe, have you seen Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
So in Two Towers, they have the theme for the Riders of Rohan. And that it's very similar to that, in that like it starts small and you see like a few horses, and then like a little louder and you see a few more horses.
Yeah. I'm getting goosebumps.
The entire Rohan army is like riding down to save Gandalf or something, you know. And that's sort of, or even in the second one, and sort of the third one, they have the song from Gondor, where the Gondor finally goes to fight, and you see the white tree and everything, and you've just been waiting for it for so long, and it builds up so perfectly.
Yeah. Oh, that's so great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You have no excuse not to watch Endgame.
I know. Especially now, I know. It's on my list, I promise.
Like your holiday project, you're gonna just, even if you don't watch anything else, watch Infinity War and Endgame.
Okay, so that makes it easier. I will try to watch other things, but Infinity War and Endgame are the two that matter the most in terms of like getting the story going. So I'll keep
Guardians of the Galaxy?
I've seen Guardians of the Galaxy, not the second one.
No, you don't need the second one. Like just so because that is such a good movie. Like that is. It is such a, and they play a part in these movies too. So as long as those are the characters most people aren't familiar with. Like everybody knows Iron Man and Captain America, but if you didn't know the Guardians, I would say watch the first Guardians just so you know them. Okay. But it's so good.
Yeah. Okay. That will be my Christmas present to you, is that I will watch at least Infinity Wars and Endgame, but I'll try to watch more of them.
Yeah. Infinity War is one of my favorite movies of all time now.
Oh, wow. Infinity War is not Endgame.
Only because, and this isn't a spoiler, but Infinity War is more like, it's told from a different point of view, and Thanos is so well done. Like he's just so subtle. Like in the old days, he would have been, aha, I will murder all of you and run away and blah, and blah, and like these big speeches. And he's not like that at all. He's like, he does have his moments, but a lot of times James Brolin just plays him so small, and that makes him just so much more threatening, and also like a real character. Like I don't want to say like you can empathize with him, but you're sort of like, I know where he's coming from.
Yeah, because he's so real instead of being overblown.
Yeah.
So before we move on, let me tell you a little bit about our other sponsor for this week's episode, Netgear. Is your Wi-Fi feeling old? Does it buffer while streaming? Does connecting new devices slow it down? Can it handle gaming, video calls, large file transfers? What happens when you try to do it all at once? It doesn't matter how fast your internet connection is if your Wi-Fi router is old and outdated. With Orbi Wi-Fi 6 from Netgear, your Wi-Fi will feel new again. Wi-Fi 6 is the latest tech that allows more devices to connect and stream simultaneously without impacting speed or reliability. The result delivers the fastest Wi-Fi for all of your devices anywhere in your home. You can stream in HD, 4K, or even 8K without buffering, eliminating lag while gaming, and connect more devices with your Wi-Fi than ever before. Orbi Wi-Fi 6 is like upgrading your Wi-Fi to first class. If you're ready for the best Wi-Fi ever, you can get it today from Netgear and never worry about Wi-Fi again. Thank you, Netgear, for sponsoring this week's episode of The iMore Show. Excuse me, I forgot to give you the tagline. You can check out Orbi Wi-Fi 6 at your local Best Buy or at netgear.com/best Wi-Fi. That's netgear.com/best Wi-Fi. Again, thank you, Netgear, for sponsoring this week's episode of The iMore Show. So many things to talk about and so little time to get through it. Let me just quickly jump in with a holiday tip for you, because I found this to be one of the best presents to come around, which is that Apple is expanding 2-hour delivery to a bunch more locations, including my town of Sacramento, which we don't usually have. And it's going all the way through December 31st. So literally Christmas Eve, oh my goodness, my cousin came to visit that I didn't know about, and I don't have a present for her. I'm going to go buy something on Apple and have it delivered in 2 hours so that on Christmas Day, bam, she's got a present.
So good.
It's kind of awesome.
6%, you guys get 6% cash back on Apple hardware, right?
Right. So then, yes. So this is like the most amazing present from Apple. It's the most amazing like holiday shopping season thing, which is that you can get 6% cash back on any Apple hardware. That's from the Mac Pro maxed out down to, an iPod Touch, anything that's an Apple product. It doesn't include third-party stuff, but any Apple branded products, hardware, you can get 6% cash back if you use your Apple Card. I've been sitting on and waiting on buying an Apple TV 4K for a very long time. I missed the $10 discount that popped up on Black Friday. But I think with the 6% cash back, I think this is my time, because you're not going to get a good deal, like a great discount on Apple TV.
Apple TV Plus. Like if you don't have it already, I think you still get a year of TV Plus, maybe the Apple Arcade demo.
Yeah, exactly. So for people who don't already have that stuff, that's a bonus on top of that. So you can get an Apple TV, which by the way, again, day before Christmas. Oh no, what to get somebody? Apple TV. Get yourself an Apple TV, have it delivered in 2 hours, use your Apple card to get 6% cash back, get that TV Plus discount, which is like, what did we figure? It's something like a $60 discount or something like that.
And if you're buying a Mac Pro, that's $3,000. Like when you buy a $50,000 Mac Pro, that's $3,000 you're saving. That's nothing to sneeze at.
I know. I think somebody tweeted to you or something like that you can use the cash back from a Mac Pro to get a MacBook Pro, and then use the cash back from the MacBook Pro to get, the Magic Keyboard or something like that. So it's pretty great.
I want to buy 4 Pro display stands and make a coffee table.
I saw that joke. That is so funny. I would be so excited to see somebody do that. It would be the best.
Really last, but maybe you can get 4 of them and put the display in. I don't know. We'll see.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah. So
yeah, for anyone who needs a nice holiday tip, if you have an Apple card, that discount is pretty darn good. And having the opportunity to just have it delivered last minute, which is something we all suffer right now. It's the 13th of December today. But I'm definitely frantically trying to figure out gifts for some people, because I know that shipping time is going to drop. Even with Amazon, that it starts to drop where you don't get it as soon as you want it. Even if you have a Prime account, that 2 days starts to drop to 5 or 7 days, because they're
Disney passes for Christmas. That's what I imagine. Imagine you and your mom just get each other Disney passes.
Yeah. So that was another thing I did want to bring up, which is that you can gift Disney Plus now. You couldn't do that right out of the gate. When you first signed up, there was no option to gift that to somebody.
Yoda, like reaching for the gift card.
Oh, that'd be so cute. But Baby Yoda isn't coming until May 2020.
I bought the Black series. I bought the little figurines. I bought the regular figure.
Oh, that's so great.
Baby Yoda.
They're so cute. I do love the Baby Yoda, which it's from the TV show Mandalorian. If anybody is listening and doesn't know, it's also not Yoda, by the way, and not to mistake the character. It's a character who is a child who looks like Yoda. It looks like the same species. It may not even be the same species. It just looks like the same species. Yeah. So it's been given the tagline Baby Yoda because it's very adorable.
They call it the child, I think, right?
On the child, yeah. On the show, it's called the child, yeah. So Disney Plus is another gift that you can give this year for $69 a year. You can either get a physical card that they can use to download, or now you can actually just send it to them in an email. That just a couple days ago, this became an online purchase, so you can buy it for somebody online.
Super nice. All right.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
That Homer Simpson thing where you're like, I got you a present, and then you'd go into a room, and you're down the ladder in the back, then you go to the gas station, you're like, here's your map, here's your beef jerky. That used to be me, so this is so much better.
Right, because you can last minute gift somebody something they actually want.
Uber Eats, only McDonald's was open. Sorry.
Oh, it's so good. What about this Memoji stickers in iOS 13.3? Have you heard about this yet?
No. Did I miss Moji?
It's you can actually remove it. I don't know. Did my phone update?
I'm so angry at having Memoji stickers in their things. It's like your face. What do you hate your face for so much?
I know that. So you in iOS 13.3, which by the way I haven't downloaded yet. I guess I just hadn't gotten around to it, so I apologize for not. I mean, this is a couple days old at this point. I should have it downloaded. But when you go in to send a text message to somebody and you open up your just your text tray and you switch over to just emoji, just the little emoji button in the corner, there's this frequently used section just for your Memoji. I love having that there. It's so fun. But apparently people don't love it, and so you can get rid of it.
You can kill your emoji just to watch them die.
Yeah. So for anybody who hates,
meanwhile, I'm sending Lori the friendship Bitmojis.
I know, those were so cute.
Yeah, Micah showed me how to do it.
Yeah, it's really adorable. I You have to teach me how to do it because I think I learned and then I forgot. So
you have to link your Snapchat account, and then it lets you do the friend button in the top right.
Oh, that's the problem. The Snapchat thing. I do have a Snapchat account. It's been forever since I've used it.
Kendall Jenner quit it, I just couldn't keep going. Who's Kendall Jenner again? Never mind.
Well, it's the top of the hour, a couple minutes past. We have actually had a very enjoyable time.
Yeah.
Georgia Dow was not able to join us today. We miss her very much, and we can't wait to have her back next week. So thank you, Georgia, for everything you do, and we can't wait to talk to you again. And thank you to all of our listeners who show up. We actually recorded this episode an hour late, and we did manage to have a pretty decent group of people in here. So thanks for joining in and talking to us and having some insights and questions. We do enjoy when you join us live. We usually podcast.
I appreciate it. You could have gone without me, but you waited.
I could have done it all by myself.
Yeah.
We usually podcast at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Fridays, but today it was delayed. So definitely keep an eye out on Twitter at around 1 p.m. Eastern time. We always post that we're about to go live, and so you can click into the YouTube channel when we're ready to go. Otherwise, just kind of keep an eye out for the tweet. And you can definitely subscribe to our iMore Show channel, youtube.com/iMore Show. Hope I got that right. And thank you to all of our listeners who don't attend our live viewing and just listen on the web or go to the YouTube channel and watch us. We really appreciate you. We do this every week because of you. And thanks to Jim Metzendorf for all the wonderful things you do. You have a hard work this week because Renee doesn't have quite the beautiful pro setup that he normally has, but I know you're going to make him sound good. So thank you so much for that, Jim. And we will see you next week where there will hopefully be at least one more of us in attendance.
Awesome.
Have a happy holiday shopping season as we get closer to all of the crazy festivities that are coming our way. So everyone have a great day. Thank you very much.
I don't know the words to the Run DMC Christmas song, or I'd be singing it now. Down. While we're rocking in the park in St. Albans, Queens.